Suicide attempts are rising among black men, especially that of young black men. Recent studies showing a nearly 80% increase in black male adolescents attempting suicide since 1991. We have assembled an all-star panel to talk about this. Dr. Earl Turner is an assistant professor of psychology at Pepperdine University. He is in LA. Dr. Howard C. Stevenson is the Constance Clayton Professor of Urban Education at the University of UPenn. He joins us from Philadelphia. And Dr. Patrice Douglas is the Clinical Director of Empire Counseling and Consultation. She, too, is in LA. The National Alliance on Mental Illness stating that 78% of all people who die by suicide are men. I did not know that. Dr. Turner, are those numbers true in the black community as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've seen an increase in suicide in the black community. And what the data shows is that black men specifically are 3 to 4 times more likely than black women to actually engage in suicide. And so it is a serious concern that we need to address.
Why is that?
Well, I think one of the issues that we know is that men oftentimes, and specifically black men, are less likely to seek mental health services. And so there is a strong reliance on doing things yourself. We have concerns around sort of emotional vulnerability, and that oftentimes prevents men from seeking the help that they need, which puts them at a much higher risk of engaging in suicidal behavior.
Dr. Stevenson, what factors do black men face that may be different than their white counterparts, causing the number of deaths that we're seeing and talking about by suicide?
Well, one factor is the stigma of admitting that one is struggling or lonely or depressed or having sad thoughts or worrying about their future. The host of things that we know that are associated with depression, and then other folks' sort of decisions to choose to use suicide as a means to deal with it are harder for black men because the stigma is so great. And so admitting as a man that you are struggling is a big factor. And culturally, we haven't always been supportive as a community to be that vulnerable as men.
Dr. Douglas, this is fascinating. More women attempt suicide than men, but men are 4 times more likely to die. Is that due to the fact that what we were just talking about, that women tend to communicate better than men?
Yes, that could be the case, but also women tend to have more health disparities. The stress alone from like the strong black women syndrome causes more medical issues such as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attacks. So even though they are not dying by suicide by force by methods such as firearms, they are dying at different rates of health disparities, which is another form of suicide by not taking care of yourselves, by pushing yourselves harder than you can be for your mental health.
And Dr. Turner, most people who die by suicide show us a sign. They exhibit some type of warning sign. Are those signs different for black men?
Yeah, well, I think one of the challenges is that we oftentimes know that people need to verbalize some of those things so that we can be concerned or speak up about it. And because black men and men in general oftentimes are more likely to be emotionally restrictive in terms of opening up to people, then that does make them at a much higher risk of not being able to take care of themselves and reach out for help because they want to keep things to themselves. And so I think we need to change the narrative to make sure that men are more comfortable talking about these types of issues, talking about their mental health, and that we don't downplay things when men sort of open up, because oftentimes it can be seen as, you're weak and you're not strong enough. And so I think that oftentimes makes it really difficult for men to be vulnerable.
Dr. Stevenson, have we done a disservice to young black men as black fathers? I mean, I can remember my father saying, if I was playing soccer and I hurt my leg and I wanted to cry, it hurt. I mean, it really hurt. And you get that, tough it out, don't you cry. We want our young black men almost to be Superman. The moral to that story, 15 years later, I went in to get an x-ray and the doctor said, did you know your son broke his leg? But do we make it hard on black men to admit that they are vulnerable physically and emotionally?
Absolutely. And it's not just fathers, it's everybody. So we're still in a culture where manhood is still perceived as something that has to appear strong, even if you're not, to hide weakness, even if you are. And in many respects, children very early get these messages, and we know through socialization, they internalize that. I think for Black men, though, the notion of how they look at masculinity and how masculinity is defined is very key to this. We can alter these messages very early. As much as they are problematic, they can also be challenged and revised.
Dr. Douglas, you had some very pointed words on your website for the media and how it covers people with mental health issues, and you brought up Kanye West as an example. What does the media get wrong when we talk about mental health?
Well, I think what the media gets wrong about mental health is that they're not comfortable with actually seeing what mental health, mental illness looks like. And so what we're seeing from Kanye West, yes, he's an entertainer. Yes, he can be extravagant, but he made it his purpose to show his highs and lows when it comes to bipolar disorder. And that's one of the things that we struggle with in social media is that we say mental health is real and to take care of yourself, but we only want to see when you're doing well, when your testimony, is present, and we don't see the struggle. But the minute that we see the struggle, we're judging, it may be uncomfortable. And so the media has to understand that just talking about mental health is not enough. We need to see it just like we see individuals talking about like their cancer stories or their cancer struggles, and we have empathy. We need to do the same thing for mental health. Even though the symptoms and the characteristics may be, outlandish and uncomfortable, this is people's truth. The more that we understand the truth, the more we can be accepting of mental illness in any community.
Dr. Turner, before we go to break, one question that I have is that sometimes the person that sees us the most also sees us the most vulnerable are Black women. How does a Black woman approach a Black man to say, I'm worried about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that they do check in and ask those questions like, how are you doing? Because I think as sort of was discussed earlier on the panel, that sometimes even Black women, when a man does open up and be vulnerable, it's too much for them and they don't know how to respond. And so I think it is a culture where we have all been socialized that men have to be tough all the time. So I think it's okay for women to say, you don't have to be tough. How are you doing? How can I help you? So that way that gives them permission sometimes to be able to open up and to be able to get the help that they need when it comes to mental health difficulties.
The running joke in the family was Dad, the leg was broken. I can only imagine what would happen in the family if it was the mind that was broken. Dr. Earl Turner, Dr. Howard Stevenson, and Dr. Patrice Douglas, thank you for being with us on such an important topic. And by the way, if you or someone you know is thinking about suicide, there is help available. It is right around the corner. Call 1-800-273-TALK to be connected to resources in your area. Again, the number is 1-800-273-8255. We will be right back.